The first time I realized my brother could do no wrong, I was 7 years old and bleeding from my knee. Liam had pushed me off my bike. Not accidentally, he'd laughed, looked me dead in the eyes, and shoved. I still remember the gravel embedding itself in my skin like tiny little diamonds of "fuck you." "You're fine," my mother said, not looking up from her phone. "Stop crying, you'll upset your brother. My knee is literally bleeding. Liam's just playing, he didn't mean it." Liam stood behind her, 8 years old, with the face of a cherub and the soul of a petty tyrant. He gave me a slow, deliberate smile. I learned something that day. The world doesn't care about your bleeding knees. It cares about who people believe. And everyone believed Liam. Fast forward 10 years. I'm 17, working 40 hours a week at a diner called the Rusty Spoon, which sounds quaint but was actually just a health code violation with tables, and maintaining a 4.2 GPA. My parents had a system. Liam wanted something, Liam got it. Liam wanted the new Xbox. He deserves it. He's been so stressed. Liam wanted the bigger bedroom. You don't need that much space, honey. You're not as active as your brother. Active. That was their code word for popular. Liam was on the baseball team. Liam had friends. Liam was the kind of kid who could get away with anything because his smile made adults forget he'd just called me a worthless disappointment under his breath. I, meanwhile, was the weird guy who read books during lunch and had exactly 2 friends, my co-worker Marcus, who sold weed out of the walk-in cooler, and Mrs. Pembroke, the 70-year-old English teacher who told me I had a voice worth hearing. I didn't know it then, but Mrs. Pembroke would save my life. "You should apply for the Morrison Scholarship," she said one afternoon, handing me a pamphlet that smelled like peppermint and old paper. I laughed, actually laughed. "The full ride? To Stanford? You have the grades, you have the essay samples, and frankly," she adjusted her glasses, "you have the kind of tragic backstory that admissions committees eat for breakfast." "That's dark, Mrs. P. Darling, I've been teaching for 42 years. I've seen brighter students than you get eaten alive by families like yours." She tapped the pamphlet. "Don't let them. Apply." I applied. The night I got the acceptance letter, full scholarship, room and board included, I made the mistake of telling my parents at dinner. "We have news too," my mother said, cutting me off mid-sentence. "Liam got into state. He's going to study business." "Business?" I blinked. "He failed pre-algebra twice." "He's creative with numbers," my father said, as if that was a real thing people said. "Mom, I just told you I got a full scholarship to—" "That's nice, sweetheart." She didn't look up from her casserole. "But we need to talk about your contribution to this household. You're 18 soon. It's time you started paying rent." I stared at her. "I'm 17. Almost 18. Same thing. And Liam?" "Liam needs to focus on his studies. He has potential." The word hit me like a slap. Potential. I had straight A's, I'd worked since I was 15, I'd never been in trouble, never talked back, never... "Dad." I tried, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. "This is Stanford. This is everything I've worked for." My father finally looked at me. Really looked, and what I saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was indifference. "Your brother needs a new laptop for school," he said. "We're going to need you to pick up extra shifts." I left 3 weeks after my 18th birthday, not dramatically, not with a speech or a slammed door. I left quietly, at 4 a.m. with 2 suitcases and a backpack full of resentment. Marcus picked me up in his rusted Honda Civic. "You sure about this?" "I've never been sure of anything in my life," I said. "But I'm sure I can't stay here." He nodded, passed me a joint, and drove me to the bus station. We smoked it in the parking lot while the sun came up, and for the first time in 18 years, I felt like I could breathe. "Hey," Marcus said as I grabbed my bags, "you're gonna be amazing, and not in a you have potential way, in a you already are way." I hugged him so hard he squeaked. Stanford was another planet. People walked around talking about their gap years in Thailand, their startup ideas, and their parents who were very disappointed. They wanted to study English instead of finance. I kept waiting for someone to notice I didn't belong, that my genes were from goodwill, that I'd never eaten a salad with more than 4 ingredients. No one noticed. Or if they did, they didn't care. I threw myself into everything. Classes, clubs, a work-study job at the library. I wrote essays that made professors cry and poems that made them uncomfortable. I was good at this, I was great at this, and then, halfway through sophomore year, I met Chloe. "Your energy is terrible," she said, sliding into the seat across from me at the coffee shop. I looked up from my laptop. "I'm sorry? Your energy, it's like a wet blanket, but like a wet blanket that's also angry about being wet." She had purple hair and wore a leather jacket over a sundress, and she looked like she'd just stepped out of a music video. "I'm Chloe, you're the guy who writes the sad poems about siblings, right?" "I don't write." I stopped. "Okay, I write sad poems about siblings. How do you know that?" "I'm in your workshop. I wrote the piece about the taxidermy squirrel." "Oh my God, you're the squirrel girl." "See, we're already bonding." She stole a fry off my plate. "Listen, I'm having a party Friday, you're coming. No arguments." "I have to study." "Studying is just procrastination with extra steps. Be there, or I'll assume you hate fun and happiness." She left before I could argue. I ate my remaining fries, and thought, what just happened? Chloe and I were dating within 3 months. She was everything I wasn't, loud where I was quiet, confident where I was careful. She'd grown up with parents who told her she was amazing so often that she'd never once doubted it. The first time she met my family, over a disastrous Thanksgiving, where Liam announced his engagement to a woman named Tiffany, who'd once been his high school girlfriend's best friend. She leaned over and whispered, "Your brother has the eyes of a man who's never been told no." "Told you. Also, your mom definitely just put my water glass in the guest dishwasher instead of the family one. That's a level of petty I respect." I laughed so hard I snorted milk out my nose. 3 years later, Chloe proposed. We were in our apartment, a small but affordable place with a leaky faucet and a landlord named Gary who definitely had bodies in his basement. She got down on one knee in the middle of a heated argument about whose turn it was to buy toilet paper. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "Chloe, if this is about the toilet paper, I swear. I can't do this anymore." She pulled a ring box from her pocket. "The fighting, the back and forth. I want to wake up next to you every day and argue about toilet paper as husband and wife." I stared at the ring. It was a thin silver band with a small sapphire, probably cost her 2 months of tips from the bar. "You're insane," I said. "Is that a yes?" "It's a you're insane. And yes, obviously, yes, get up off the dirty floor." She kissed me. The toilet paper argument was never resolved. We bought a bidet instead. The wedding planning started beautifully, and then hit the brick wall of my family. "We want it in my hometown," I said. "I know it's not ideal, but..." "Say no more." Chloe held up her hand. "I've already mapped out the revenge arc." "The what?" She grinned. It was a terrifying grin. "You've told me everything. The bike, the scholarship, the laptop, the rent they demanded you pay while your brother lived at home until he was 26. I've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. Chloe, I don't want revenge. I just want to get married. And you will, but we're gonna do it in a way that makes you happy." She pulled out her laptop. "Now, tell me about your parents' biggest weakness." "Appearances?" "Bingo." She started typing. "And what do appearances cost?" "Money?" "Bingo." She spun the laptop toward me. "Here's the plan." The plan was simple, beautiful, diabolical. We invited my parents to help with the wedding planning. My mother, who had never shown interest in anything I'd ever done, showed up to the first meeting with a binder full of magazine cutouts and a list of demands. "The venue needs to seat at least 200, she said. "Your father's business associates will be attending." "Of course," Chloe said sweetly. "What about the grand estate? It's the nicest venue in town." My mother's eyes lit up. "Isn't that expensive?" "Normally, yes, but we've negotiated a special rate for family." Chloe slid a contract across the table. "Of course we can't afford it ourselves. We were thinking of something smaller." "No." My mother grabbed the contract. "This is perfect. Your father and I will handle the venue." "Are you sure? We don't want to impose..." "Nonsense, your family." Chloe smiled. I watched my mother sign the contract without reading the fine print, which included a non-refundable deposit clause and a vendor approval section that gave us final say on everything. One by one, Chloe added items to my parents' tab: The floral arrangements, the photographer, the open bar, premium tier, the band instead of a DJ, the 5-tier cake with gold leaf. "Are you sure about this?" I asked after my mother agreed to pay for the chair covers. "This feels extreme." "Babe," Chloe took my hands, "they stole your childhood. They tried to steal your future. They made you feel like you didn't deserve anything. We're not taking their money. We're collecting back taxes on 18 years of emotional damage. That's not how taxes work. It's how my taxes work." She kissed my forehead. "Trust me." The only demand they made, the only one, came 2 weeks before the wedding. "Liam will walk down the aisle first," my father said over the phone. "He's the older sibling. It's only fair." I felt the old familiar twist in my gut. "Dad, it's my wedding. Chloe and I are the ones. It's a family event. We need to think about everyone's feelings." "His feelings about my wedding?" "He's very sensitive about these things. You know how he gets." I knew. Liam got whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, because no one had ever told him no. The last time someone told him no, a bartender who refused to serve him because he was already drunk, he'd thrown a glass and blamed me for provoking him. I was about to refuse when Chloe grabbed the phone. "Of course," she said. "Liam first. That makes perfect sense." My father hung up satisfied. I stared at Chloe. "What are you doing?" She smiled. It was the smile she got right before she did something unhinged. "Trust the process." The wedding day was perfect. Blue sky, 68 degrees, flowers that cost more than my first car, a band that had once opened for someone I'd vaguely heard of, and 200 guests, including my parents' business associates, my old co-workers from the Rusty Spoon, and Mrs. Pembroke, who was now 92, and sharp as a tack. "She brought her own flask," Chloe whispered, nodding toward Mrs. Pembroke. "I taught her everything she knows." The ceremony was scheduled to start at 4 p.m. At 3:45, my mother came rushing over, face flushed. The door to the venue, it's locked." Chloe blinked innocently. "Locked? The security guard won't let anyone in. He says there's a VIP protocol in place." "How strange." Chloe checked her watch. "Well, the ceremony starts in 15 minutes. I'm sure they'll figure it out." My mother stormed off. I turned to Chloe. "What did you do?" "I hired private security, told them that my difficult family members might try to make a scene and needed to be kept outside until the appropriate time." She adjusted my boutonniere. "The appropriate time is never." "You locked my parents out of the wedding?" "I locked Liam out of the wedding. Your parents are inside." She grinned. "But they don't know that yet." At 3:55 the doors opened. My parents walked down the aisle to their seats, looking confused but mostly relieved. The guests murmured. The band played something soft and classical. At 4 eaters and Serbima, o bender o under stian, perban, tender waperi, and dander dan, mans. Oh, the doors closed again. "Where's Liam?" my mother hissed from the front row. "He's supposed to walk first." The officiant, a friend from college who'd gotten ordained online for the occasion, cleared her throat. "We seem to be missing someone." "I'll go check," my father started. "No need," Chloe said. She was standing at the altar, looking like a queen in her white suit. "I'm sure he'll be along." He wouldn't be along. At 4:05, my mother's phone rang. She answered, listened for 30 seconds, and went pale. "What do you mean, security?" The guests turned to look. My mother's voice was rising. "They won't let you in? Tell them you're the groom's brother." A pause. "They said what?" Another pause. My mother's face cycled through confusion, anger, and dawning horror. "They said, you're on a list?" Chloe squeezed my hand. "Now," she whispered. I walked down the aisle, not with my father, not with anyone, just me, in my suit, walking toward the woman I loved while my mother screamed into her phone, and my father tried to shush her, and the guests watched with a mixture of confusion and delight. The band played something upbeat. I heard Mrs. Pembroke cackle. I reached the altar. Chloe took my hands. "You look handsome," she said. "You're a menace." "I know," the officiant began. "Dearly beloved." "Stop the ceremony." My mother stood up, phone still pressed to her ear. "Liam is outside. He's been waiting for 20 minutes. He's supposed to walk first." Chloe turned to face the guests. "I'm sorry," she said. her voice dripping with fake concern. "There must be some misunderstanding. The security was hired to ensure no unwanted guests disrupted the ceremony." "Liam is not an unwanted guest. He's on the list," Chloe said. "The do not admit list." The guests gasped. My mother looked like she'd been slapped. "You what?" "Let me explain." Chloe stepped forward and suddenly she wasn't sweet anymore. She was steel. For 28 years this woman's son, my husband, has been told he wasn't enough, that his brother mattered more, that his dreams were secondary, that his existence was something to be managed, not celebrated. My mother opened her mouth. Chloe held up a hand. "You made him work while you paid for Liam's education. You made him feel guilty for getting a scholarship. You tried to make him pay rent at 17 so your precious son could have a new laptop." Chloe's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The room was silent. "And today, on his wedding day, you demanded that his abuser walk down the aisle before him, in his wedding, to his wife. You did, and now everyone knows." The silence stretched. My mother looked around the room at the business associates, at the friends, at Mrs. Pembroke with her flask, and saw nothing but judgment. She sat down. The ceremony continued. We said our vows, we cried, we kissed. The band played at last, and I danced with Mrs. Pembroke, who told me she was proud, and also that Chloe was a keeper, even if she is clearly a sociopath. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me," Chloe said, overhearing. The reception was a blur of champagne, cake, and people congratulating us. My parents left early, dragging a red-faced Liam, who I later learned had been screaming at the security guard for 45 minutes, out to the parking lot. I thought about that, about being married to someone who lied so easily, about waking up next to someone who'd spent a lifetime being told he was right, always right, even when he was wrong. The honeymoon was in Hawaii. We'd booked it months ago, using the money we'd saved by not paying for the wedding. Our first morning, we woke up to the sound of waves and the sight of my phone buzzing itself across the nightstand. 17 messages from Liam. I read them aloud to Chloe because that's what love is. "You think you're so clever. Mom is crying. Dad won't talk to anyone. Hope you're happy. You ruined everything. This is your fault. I can't believe you did this to me. To me! After everything I've done for you." "What has he done for you?" Chloe asked. "I don't know. Exist, mostly. You're dead to me. You hear me? Dead. I'm telling everyone what you did. Tiffany says I should calm down. She doesn't understand. You always had to make everything about you." "Send me those," Chloe said. "Why?" She was already typing on her phone. "Because I'm about to make this everyone's problem." She screenshotted the messages and posted them to the family group chat, the one I'd left 3 years ago, but that she'd stayed in for intelligence purposes. Her caption, "Just wanted everyone to see what emotional stability looks like in the family that told my husband he wasn't good enough. Happy honeymoon from us." The responses rolled in. Aunt Carol, "Liam, this is inappropriate." Uncle Dave, "Someone needs therapy." Cousin Melissa, "Wait, what did they actually do to you?" Liam, "You don't understand." Tiffany, "Liam, put down the phone." Liam, "No." Tiffany, "I'm taking the kids to my mom's." Liam, Tiffany. Liam, "Tiffany, don't." Liam, "This is his fault." Chloe put her phone down. End scene. I stared at her. "You just destroyed my brother's marriage." "I just exposed your brother's marriage. The destruction was already in progress." She kissed my shoulder. "Now stop thinking about your terrible family and come look at this sunset." We watched the sunset. The sky turned orange and pink and purple, and I thought about all the years I'd spent feeling small, feeling invisible, feeling like I was living in someone else's shadow. I couldn't change my parents, couldn't change Liam, couldn't make them see what they'd done, or admit that they'd done it, or apologize in a way that would ever feel real, but I could stop letting them change me. "You're doing it again," Chloe said. "Doing what?" "Thinking sad thoughts during a beautiful moment." She handed me a drink with an umbrella in it. "Drink this, dance with me, and tomorrow we can go back to hating your family." "What if I want to hate them and dance with you?" Chloe laughed. "That's my husband." We danced on the beach, barefoot, drunk on cheap champagne and expensive relief. And when I looked up at the stars, at the same stars that had hung over my childhood bedroom, over the bus station, over my first night in California, I didn't feel like a shadow anymore. I felt like the sun. My mother called on a Tuesday. "I want to apologize," she said. Her voice sounded old, tired. "Okay. I didn't see it. What was happening? Your father and I, we thought we were being fair. We thought Liam needed more help. And I didn't?" A long pause. "I was wrong. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something." "Thank you," I said, "for saying that. Can we try to be better?" I looked across the room at Chloe, who was making dinner and singing off key to a Taylor Swift song. She caught my eye and mouthed, "Who is it?" I mouthed back, "My mom." She made a face that said, "Do you want me to handle it?" I shook my head. "Mom," I said into the phone, "I'm not ready to forgive you. I don't know if I ever will be, but I'm willing to let you try. That's all I ask. I have conditions, therapy, boundaries, no Liam talk for at least 6 months. Okay. And you have to admit that the chair covers were a waste of money." A beat. Then, quietly, she laughed. "They were hideous," she said. "I know." I hung up. Chloe brought me a plate of pasta that was slightly burned and absolutely perfect. "Progress?" she asked. "Progress," I said, "and but I'm still not sending a thank you card." "Babe." She kissed my forehead. "You never have to send a thank you card again. I'll handle all future correspondence with your family." "You'll what?" "I'll write them very polite emails that take 3 weeks to respond to and contain absolutely no useful information. It's called strategic incompetence. Look it up." I looked it up. It wasn't real, but neither, I realized, was the version of me who'd once believed he didn't deserve love. That guy was gone. And good fucking riddance. The best revenge is living well. The second best revenge is hiring private security to lock your brother out of your wedding. The third best revenge is the look on your mother's face when she realizes she paid for the chair covers. Chloe's wedding speech, which she insisted on including in the vows, are